Welcome back to Bet the Juice Podcast. Cody Mitchell here with the West Coast Conference Tournament Preview. Whew. It's day, 3 now of actual conference tournament games. We had the one on Monday, if you want to count that, but things have been kind of fucking wild already. We had in the NEC, we had the 7-seed Wagner beat the 2-seeded Central Connecticut Blue Demons, or Blue Devils, whoever, what. That was my pick to win the NEC. That was actually one of my favorite of all the ones I've covered so far to win the NEC. And they lose in the first round to Wagner. Yeah, tough one to swallow there, but we've done fairly decent, actually really well, besides, losing our champion in one conference. We're just going to burn the NEC bracket. And some other wildness going on here. Gardner-Webb is somehow beating USCFC, which is the 8-9, so it's not like that fucking crazy. But I'm still convinced that Gardner-Webb is just throwing games the entire year, and the fact that we see them winning is kind of wild here. Got 3 more to do tonight. And again, we're starting with the WCC. Tournament odds go as such. Gonzaga, big favorite here, minus 210. St. Mary's, who just beat Gonzaga, is plus 230. Santa Clara plus 650, and then basically after that, it just gets bananas. San Francisco's 120-1. Oregon State's 170-1. Seattle 180-1. Pacific 250-1. Washington State 250-1. Loyola Marymount 800-1. Pepperdine 800-1. And San Diego, the Toreros 1,000-1. Yes, $1 will win you $1,000. Maybe post firing of head coach Steve Lavin? Potentially, maybe they get crazy. I don't think so, but bracket's pretty simple. It is very similar to what the Sun Belt does with that fucked up, weird bracket. All the games are in Las Vegas. It's kind of one of the tournaments, like, I do like it because it is on late, and that always appeals to me because there's not a lot of late night action. Always, especially being, somebody from the Eastern time zone, those games are late. You need something to watch, you need something to gamble on. You can always bet on this. But it seems like we've had the same, understandably so. Let's see the tournament history here, because I'd be curious to see what, I'm going to guess there has not been a champion other than St. Mary's and Gonzaga since the mid-2000s. So the last time Gonzaga or St. Mary's did not win it was 2003 when San Diego got it done. St. Mary's, so in that, 2003, so you have 2004. And 2003 and on, we have 12. Yeah, 12 other ones. The winners. Oh, my bad. I did miss one. San Diego got it in 2008. But besides that, St. Mary's has won it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and the rest of it's been the Zags, which, we kind of understand. It makes sense. They're the two powers. And this is the last year Gonzaga is actually going to be in the dance, too. So let's see how we made out with the bracket here. Again, it's that weird-ass quadruple bye bullshit I don't really care about. The WCC is actually kind of the originators behind this format. The Sun Belt only has adopted this maybe a couple of years ago, and this has been something that has been in the works with WCC for a minute at least. And it was, oddly enough, it was made essentially to protect St. Mary's and Gonzaga and get them both to the finals, which is weird because typically both of them are going to be in at-large teams anyway, and most of the time they're going to be in the championship anyway. So I don't really understand. You're literally ruining and making it more difficult, actually, for your conference to get more than 2 bids in. Because St. Mary's and Gonzaga were already going to get there. And now your 6 seeds got to play a couple extra games to even get there. You actually could probably get more teams than if you just have a normal bracket. But it is what it is. Let's get into the games here. The first one we have, top the list here, we have Pepperdine and Portland. Winners would have to win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in 6 days to win the WCC and punch their ticket to the dance. But pretty simple here for me. I think Pepperdine is really bad. And I actually like Portland, not just because they've beaten Gonzaga, but I think Shante Legans is a really, really underrated coach. If you guys remember him from Eastern Washington, when they were the 15 seed, they were a dangerous 15 seed. Almost got Alabama picked off there for a while. I think it was Alabama or Kansas, one of those. I remember Ethan Groves just being, or Tanner and Ethan Groves. Those are the two brothers, yeah, and they just being complete dogs. I don't remember if it was the really big one that ended up going to Oklahoma. I think it was Tanner. Pretty sure it was Tanner. Yeah, it's a coach that's, familiar with winning in a tournament setting. And I just think they have better players, and they've just been playing also better down the stretch. Now, they did lose both times to Pepperdine in the regular season, which is kind of oddly enough, that is very surprising. I do remember one of those because I remember betting on Pepperdine, actually, because it was a good spot for them at home. But I do think Pilots, totally fine. They get it done here. And then the other matchup, San Diego and Loyola Marymount. I have the Mount advancing. San Diego wasn't terrible for the majority of the year, and then, they weren't great, but after they fired Lavin, it just seems like the team quit, and every single time I would turn a game on, they were just getting the shit kicked out of them. There was no one-game bump. It was they fired him, and then that was it. It was over. So, give me the Mount to advance up here. Now, in the second round here, I have Portland upsetting Washington State. Again, more of what I gave off in the first game I was talking about is Shante Legans has been there, man. It goes a long way to have a coach that is coached a tournament setting and knows what it takes to win games on back-to-back days. And also, you get more familiarity with the rims. You just played there a day ago. You don't have fresh legs, but you have worked legs, and you're in game rhythm and stuff like that. You're going against cold legs. So I like Portland to be Washington State. Washington State's not been impressive all season long. I would rather take the better coach to advance in this one. So a little bit of an upset there. But the other side here, I have Seattle and Loyola Marymount. I have the Pilots of Seattle advancing. I think this is a criminally underrated team all year who started WCC playoff really, really well. If you remember, they almost beat Gonzaga. Really close to being Gonzaga. They ended up getting kind of fucked up in overtime a little bit, but that was at Gonzaga too. Like, I like Seattle. They've been playing good down the stretch. Winners of 4 or 5. The only loss in there was a home loss to 2 by St. Mary's. So I have the Pilots moving on here to the third round. And in the third round here, it was fun while it lasted. But I'm going to advance the Dons of San Francisco over Portland. Culture matters. Familiarity matters. This is now your third game in 3 days. I think it finally slows down the Pilots. I have the Dons advancing. And the other side, I have Pacific. As much as I like Seattle, I actually really like this Pacific team. I think Coach Dave Smart has done really good in year one. Not year one, sorry. This might be, what is this, year 2? Let me look that up real quick. This is year 2, yeah. Bad year last year. They were like 9-1 team a year ago, but I mean, this team was 17-10, and they lost 4 down the stretch here. But it's a new season, and in those 4 games they lost, dude. It was St. Mary's, Gonzaga, San Francisco, and Washington State. The Washington State one was on the road, so it's like they're forgivable losses. This is also a team that has popped up and fought hard against St. Mary's, fought hard against Gonzaga. I just like the new season here, and I trust Dave Smart to get it done here. So I have the Tigers advancing to the quarterfinals. And in the quarterfinals, pretty sure I have chalk basically the entire way here. I have Oregon State and Santa Clara advancing. No Wayne Tinkle for the Beavers, which to me kind of came as a surprise that he got canned. I don't know what the expectations are in Corvallis, really. I thought he could maybe ride out that Elite Eight for a long time, but apparently not. Apparently not. So they apparently have higher expectations for him. And on the other game, I really was on the fence, and I really wanted to take Santa Clara. But the problem is, or take Pacific. Santa Clara is fighting for their lives to make the NCAA tournament. You lose this game against Pacific, you're right there on the bubble. And unfortunately for Santa Clara is they do not have that name brand bias. No one cares that Steve Nash won a game as a 15 seed. You lose to Pacific, which I don't know what quad's, probably quad 3, maybe a quad 2. I doubt it's a quad 2. It's probably a quad 3 loss. Like, you're probably looking on the outside if there's some bigger names there right there on the bubble. Now, I do think they should be in the tournament, but money controls college sports still, and they will get fucked over somehow. So, I think Sendek has the guys locked in for this one, and they advance to the quarterfinals, or the semifinals. So we have all top 4 seeds in here, and then again, I'm going straight chalk again. I have Gonzaga and St. Mary's advancing to the title game in a rematch that we just saw Saturday, where Gonzaga kind of controlled it for a long way until halftime, and then St. Mary's just punched him right in the mouth outside of halftime, and then basically just controlled the clock, mucked it up, and then defended Gonzaga really well, and it kind of fucked them over a little bit. It was a really, really good win for St. Mary's. And then in the rematch, I blocked my face out with my camera, so that's not good. I will move. Still working on the computer skills a little bit, guys, so bear with me. I did not even advance a champion in this one. Well, I'll tell you what it is. I have St. Mary's winning the WCC tournament at plus 230, and that is why they're my best bet. I understand the people that would want to take Gonzaga, but you're not laying minus 210. If you want to pick them to win the tournament in some like group or something like that, I totally get it. It's Gonzaga, but I'm not betting minus 210. You're a dummy if you do. Don't combine it with another minus something and combine it. Like Long Island was probably something that somebody did. They beat Chicago State by 4 in their home court. Like, don't do that shit. And then my long shots, I do have, I don't know what the fuck happened to the slide here, but I do have Oregon State at 171. Maybe just ride out the Wayne Tinkle stuff, 1 game bump, 2 game bump, tournament bump, and then you do only really have to play San Francisco, so I do see them in the semifinals. If you beat Gonzaga, and then you can find a spot to hedge there. So, 170 to 1 to basically win just to beat Gonzaga, that's crazy odds, and then you can find a way to hedge yourself out of it. And then I also have Pacific because I do really like Dave Smart, and I do think he's a really good coach. So that is why I didn't have the slide right. So those are my best bets. Those are my long shots. But to be honest with you, this conference tournament it's not terrible, but it's just, it's going to be the big dogs. There's not really going to be a lot of upsets. And I hope I'm wrong, but it's typically just how it goes. All right. That concludes the WCC. I'll be back later tonight with a couple more here. So until then, I'll see you guys. I'm out of here.